The phone rings once, then stops. A few seconds pass. It rings again. You don't reach for it. You let it vibrate against the wood, sharp and deliberate in the quiet room. Your handler has never called twice, not once in 5 years. The air feels heavier than it should, stale at 19 degrees, unmoving. You count the seconds between the rings, steady, controlled. When the sound fades, you already know something is wrong. You stay still and listen. No footsteps outside, no shift in the hallway, just silence stretching longer than it should. Your pulse doesn't spike. It never does. That was one of the first things they tested. Control under pressure, not reacting when instinct tells you to move. You learn to wait, to observe, to let the moment reveal itself before you act. Years ago, you sat in a windowless room and signed your name for the last time. There was no agency logo, no official language that tied it to anything real, just terms, precise and cold. No recognition, no extraction guarantee, no existence if compromised. You read every line, you understood what it meant, then you signed anyway, knowing the decision would erase you in ways you couldn't fully measure. The induction was immediate, no ceremony, no acknowledgement. You were assigned a number and given 72 hours to disappear. You removed yourself piece by piece, photos first, devices next, contacts last. By the end, there was nothing left that connected you to who you had been. The silence after that was different, not empty, final. Training lasted 18 months, long enough to dismantle what you were and replace it with something functional. You spent 9 hours a day inside a language that wasn't yours until it started to feel natural. You adjusted your voice, your posture, your reactions. You learned how long to hold eye contact, how quickly to look away, how to exist without drawing attention. Every detail mattered. Every mistake was recorded. They trained your memory to operate without hesitation, faces locked in within 3 seconds, room layouts mapped in under 10. You learned to function on 4 hours of sleep without losing clarity. They didn't call it endurance, they called it baseline. When training ended, there was no sense of completion, just deployment. Your new identity was already built, documents verified, history layered with enough detail to survive inspection. You stepped into it without pause. At first, everything felt like a performance. You monitored every word, every movement. Conversations were rehearsed in your head before they happened. You watched yourself constantly, correcting, adjusting. Then repetition took over. The act became automatic. You woke at 0600, checked your surroundings, stepped outside with measured timing. Routes were repeated, then altered. You tracked who appeared where, who lingered too long, who noticed you and who didn't. Patterns formed, and you lived inside them. You learned their language beyond vocabulary. You picked up rhythm, tone, small shifts in meaning. You ate what they ate, drank what they drank, mirrored their habits until there was no visible difference. You laughed when they laughed, even when the reason came a second too late. Over time, you stopped translating. It just became normal. You started recording everything without deciding what mattered. A man who arrived every morning at 0812, another who left at 1747 without variation, a third who smoked exactly 3 cigarettes in the same place. You stored it all, building a mental map that grew more detailed with each passing day. Sleep changed. It became shallow, controlled. 4 hours, sometimes less. You woke to the smallest sound, a shift in weight outside your door, a vehicle slowing just enough to stand out. Rest was no longer recovery, it was maintenance. Years passed without clear markers, 2, then 3, then 5. Time flattened into routine. Promotions came quietly, more access, more responsibility. No praise, just additional expectations. You were asked to move closer, to integrate deeper. Closer meant risk, risk meant value. You began making decisions outside written protocols, small adjustments to maintain your cover. You bent rules in ways that could be justified if reviewed, but never explained openly.
This was the system's real structure, not rigid compliance, but controlled flexibility, creative compliance that kept operations alive. You understood the hierarchy without seeing it, layers of handlers and analysts you would never meet, timelines measured in seconds, communications limited to 90 seconds or less. Every delay meant something, every silence was intentional. Your name faded. When it surfaced in your mind, it felt distant, like something that belonged to someone else. You stopped thinking of yourself in those terms. You became the identity you were given, not because you chose to, but because there was nothing else left to hold on to. Relationships became impossible. You interacted, but never connected. You kept conversations shallow, avoided personal details, redirected questions. Attachment created patterns. Patterns created vulnerabilities. You removed both. Isolation settled in quietly. At first, it felt like discipline. Then it became the only stable condition. No one knew you, not fully, not truthfully, and over time, you stopped expecting them to. Then the call came again. One ring, pause, another. You didn't need confirmation, but it came anyway. The same car appeared twice in 2 days, parked at a distance that suggested intent. A man on the corner, repeating the same posture, the same attempt at invisibility. You noticed him once, then again. His timing was too exact. You adjusted your route. He adjusted his position. The pattern held. You reduced your exposure, shortened movements, increased counter-surveillance. Still, the pressure didn't ease. It settled deeper, more precise. You ran through the possibilities: internal compromise, external observation, random coincidence, unlikely. The conclusion was the same. You were being watched. The second call confirmed it, not verbally, not directly, just the pattern breaking in a way that wasn't supposed to happen. You sat with the realization, no immediate reaction. Panic would change nothing. You had been trained for this moment, even if it had never been spoken about in full. You had 2 options. You could initiate extraction, disappear within 24 hours, erase everything connected to your operation, years of work gone, clean, efficient, final. Or you could stay. Staying meant pushing deeper, extracting whatever had triggered the shift. It could be insignificant, or it could justify everything that came before. Staying also meant increasing the risk of capture. Capture didn't come with negotiation, it came with silence. You measured it without emotion. Time invested, potential outcome, personal cost, none of it balanced cleanly. The system never required your survival, only your function. That understanding settles in without resistance. You look at the phone. It's silent now, waiting without expectation. You move through your routine anyway, check exits, verify sightlines, observe changes. Everything feels sharper, more defined. The world narrows to what matters. Then something shifts. Not outside, inside. You realize the structure you've been serving was never built around you. It doesn't adapt to protect individuals. It replaces them, seamlessly, without interruption. You think back to the room with no windows, the document, the moment you signed. It wasn't a beginning, it was an entry point into something that doesn't end. People cycle through, they adapt, erode, and disappear. The system remains unchanged, stable, continuous. You were never meant to be permanent. You stand there for a moment longer than necessary, then you make your decision quietly, without acknowledgement, because saying it would give it weight, and weight slows you down. You move forward. Somewhere far away, a file is updated, a missed signal logged, a contingency prepared. The system doesn't pause to consider you. It continues exactly as it was designed to.